Israel continues to relentlessly attack the Gaza Strip, pounding away at the besieged Palestinian enclave, which has been reeling from previous Israeli attacks and has been suffering from a humanitarian crisis and from lack of medical supplies and basic necessities for years. The attacks have now entered day 7, and as a result of the disproportionate use of force, over 170 Palestinians have been killed, 1,100 injured, and hundreds of residential areas have been demolished beyond repair. But the Palestinians refuse to sit quiet. The armed wing of Hamas' Al-Qassam brigades have launched rockets at Haifa, Tel Aviv, Rishon LeZion, Ashkelon, and several other cities, promising that the rockets will hit deeper into Israel than ever before. For the next half hour or so here on Press TV, we'll be focusing on the situation and the crisis taking place in Gaza. We're joined now by Yisrael David Weiss, Associate Director of Naturai Carta International, joining us from New York, Paul Arudi, co-founder of the Free Palestine movement from San Francisco, and also to give us an update on the ground from Gaza, our correspondent Hala Al-Safadi also joins us via satellite from Gaza City. We're going to start off with our correspondent Hala Al-Safadi in Gaza. Hala, please bring us up to speed on the recent Israeli aggression and the rising number of civilian casualties.
Until the moment, Israeli airstrikes are taking place all across the Gaza Strip, especially in East Gaza and North Gaza, and we heard a number of explosions in Gaza City as well. We're talking now about 172 people who were killed, and 1,260 at least were injured in those 7 days. We're starting now in Gaza the 8th day. It's the morning of the 8th day of this Israeli aggression, with number of airstrikes in the middle area, in North Gaza, in Gaza City. There was also an airstrike targeting a mosque in Deir al-Balah in the middle area. Another one targeting a military compound to the west of Gaza City, and also an apartment in Tal al-Hawa area, which is also in Gaza City. We've also heard news about Al-Qassam brigades launching 2 rockets towards southern Israel as well. This is about the latest numbers we have, and we can actually also talk about the hospitals crisis at the moment in Gaza City, as Al-Shifa Hospital, the main city in Gaza Strip, have announced the highest level of emergencies. They are running off equipment. They have severe shortage in medication and also in medical supplies and medicines. The operation rooms, the emergency rooms, as well as the intensive care units are the ones that hit the emergency state the most. Doctors have confirmed that there are a number of injuries they cannot deal with, and they cannot even transfer out of Gaza Strip because of their critical state. There were also news about confirmed news from international doctors who came to help in the hospitals of Gaza, that Israel is using unconventional weapons such as the dime weapon, which actually causes burns in the bodies, loss of lower parts of the body, and also doctors confirmed that there are microscopic shrapnels in the bodies that they cannot even see, that are invisible for them. So this is regarding the humanitarian situation. Number of places have been targeted. I actually cannot name one thing that Israel did not target in those several days. A police station was targeted, which stands against the international humanitarian law. Cars were targeted, journalists were targeted, civilians, unarmed civilians, children, women, houses, motorcycles, parks, buildings. So we cannot even name one thing that Israel did not target until now in Gaza Strip.
Let's cross over to our guest in New York, Mr. Yisrael David Weiss. Sir, it's great to have you with us here on Press TV. Let's jump right in and get your take on this disproportionate use of force of attacks carried out by the Israelis against the people of Gaza.
With the help of the Almighty, we want first and foremost to express our outrage, our sorrow, our support and sympathy for the Palestinian people, the people of Gaza. I want you to know that in Jerusalem, in Quds, Rabbi Meir Hirsch, signed as leader of Naturai Carta Palestine, signed a letter of protest and consolation for the people of Palestine, with the signature signed in pain and anger. We from around the world, Neturei Karta, sent out a letter. Worldwide Orthodox Jewry joined the universal cry of outrage at the latest terrorist actions by the Zionist state of Israel. Now, we have been tirelessly for the last 2 weeks. We've been in the streets. We've been, I thank God, there was a big demonstration across from the Israeli mission in Manhattan, and I spoke there with thousands of Arab, Muslim, Palestinians, and God's help, and Jewish people, and I spoke there. I just flew in from Toronto. We spent the weekend in Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto, in London, and throughout the world. Our religious communities that are true to Judaism are desperately attempting to awaken the world to this injustice, the injustice of the existence of the state of Israel and the new acts of terrorism that they're perpetrating in Gaza. We cannot, it's not acceptable. It's a pure rebellion against God. I must mention that just one other issue of sorrow is that the Zionists always have a win-win situation. They create animosity, they create terror, and then they enjoy when the fact is blamed on religious Jews, and because they hijack the Star of David, the name Israel, and they want people to confuse the religion Judaism with their repugnant Zionism, their nationalism called Zionism. Here is a sign that was on a hashtag and that was on Twitter, of showing the burning, the terrible tragedy of the burning of the Palestinian boy, and it's showing Hasidic, that means very religious Jews, dancing and celebrating this. This is a terrible, terrible crime added. It's a terrible tragedy that's added onto the crime and the tragedy of burning this beautiful boy, because what the Zionists are doing is they want that we should pay, as Jewish people, as religious, true to God, we should pay for their crimes. Let the world know this is a terrible mistake. We should not be confused as Jews who are true to God around the world and in Quds, in Jerusalem and around the world. We are totally, from the depth of our soul, we are opposed to the existence of this occupation. It's against God. We are not allowed to steal or kill. And we've been opposing it since they've come up to Palestine to create this state. We've died in opposition. Our leaders have been assassinated and killed. Today happens to be the anniversary of the leader of Neturei Karta, of Amram Blau, of blessed memory, who went in for a hernia operation, and he died from internal bleeding at the hands of the Zionists. Let the world know that we, as Jews, because we are Jews, we oppose the occupation, we oppose every step they're taking, and of course what they're doing now in Gaza, and we will, with God's help, not be intimidated. We will go out and demonstrate day in and day out, and God's help, God will hear our cries, and the world will see that this is not religion, it's a Zionist, illegitimate crime, a vile crime against innocent people, against people who are victims. And the essence of the problem is and the root of all this bloodshed is because there is a state. Remove that state of Israel, we would be able to exist as we've had for hundreds of years without any human rights groups to protect us. It's not necessary. It's not a religious conflict.
All right, over to our guest in San Francisco, Mr. Paul Larudi. Out of the 7 days of attacks, at least 170 Palestinians have been killed. And as with the previous Israeli assaults and wars in 2008, 2009, the 2012 war, and now 2014, many of those killed as a result of the attacks are women and children. How do you explain the non-committal international community with regards to these innocent deaths?
The international community hasn't changed at all. They are still sitting on the sidelines, wringing their hands, saying how terrible it is, and of course blaming the victims for the most part. But we have to understand something about the motivation of the State of Israel in this. What is the purpose of this? They say it is to weaken or to destroy Hamas. That's the last thing on their minds. They love Hamas. They like the idea that they have a relatively weak, compared to them, adversary that they can beat once in a while. And this is necessary from their point of view. They have to kill and destroy and impoverish and cause malnutrition and stunted growth. They need to do all of these things. Why? Because if you look at the typical Israeli family or the typical Israeli community, you will see that anyone over the age of 21 has been in the army and has participated in precisely the massacres that you are talking about in 2008, 9, 12, and 14. So every group that comes as a new recruit, and they serve for 2 or 3 years, depending on men or women, they have to experience the same thing. They have to participate in the crime. They have to become accomplices in the crime. That way, everyone is an accomplice, and everyone shares the same experience, and they feel that it's normal.